you're looking at a path and you're saying, what's the next step? And if a step is appearing and you feel at peace with it, it's almost like, okay, I'm going to trust God that he's putting this here for a reason.
At first, sometimes you can't see where it's going to go. You don't even notice it.
Yeah.
But then in hindsight is when you can really notice it when you look at the timeline.
I would encourage anyone that's listening to this to look back at some of the moments in your life that you thought were dark moments. You can always find, it seems, you can find a path to, if it wasn't for that, then this next step couldn't have happened.
One of the reasons I kind of left full-time ministry was like, I want to be a part of God's kingdom. Maybe not having it as a job designation, transitioning careers doesn't go well with a resume.
For leaders who are listening and you're thinking about like, hey, if I want to go incorporate a mission that, has more to do with just my product or service, when you go out and you're doing it and you're doing it differently, sometimes employees are going to want to know, like, how true is this? Because if it's just something that's surface level and it's used for marketing, like, oh, I want Christians to do business with my company because I'm Christian too, a lot of times you're going to see people run from that. Welcome to First and Focused, the podcast where faith meets leadership. I know you're going to put me on the spot. I don't know what you're going to ask me to say. I'm Mark Greaves, and in each episode, I sit down with business and industry leaders who put God first in their work and stay focused on building his kingdom through their calling. I could sit here and talk with you all day.
Keep up the great work, brother. The Lord is using you powerfully. I love you. I love watching what Jesus is doing in your life.
Well, welcome to the First and Focus show, where we interview leaders from various industries who are putting God first in their work and pursuing building the kingdom through their callings. And today I'm really, really pumped about this. I've got two of my favorite people on the planet right here at the table with me that work inside of our business at Tithe Lending. So I'm joined by my own brother, Steve Greaves, and by the other Steve that happens to work for Tithe Lending, Steve Knife Coan. So guys, thanks for being here.
Like butter knife, spread don't cut.
Spread don't cut, that's right.
Yeah.
Great to be here.
Two Steves in one room. It's a lot of personality in one room.
I don't know how we're going to contain
Fantastic.
it.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Like it's just going to be way too much Steve just bursting out of this room. It's going to be great.
Let it flow. Let it flow.
I'm ready.
All right, well, we're ready. So here, let me get your guys' intros. Everybody gets an intro, and then I'll kind of tee you guys up. But we're going to tell some good stories today. So, all right, here we go. Steve Greaves, you are a top producing mortgage veteran with Tithe Lending. You're entering your 12th year in residential finance. That's kind of hard to believe. You began your career as an inside sales rep. You grew to managing large teams within a national retail lender, and now work in local markets as an expert for real estate agents and clients navigating home ownership. You sit on the board of the Friends of the Josephinum, a group dedicated to supporting seminarians for the Catholic Church. You are a native of St. Louis, Missouri, a husband to Lynn, father to Emma, and about to be a father to another baby girl here in July. And pivoting over to Stephen Knife Coan, you are also a mortgage guru with Tithe Lending. We should put that on your business card.
Therapist, mortgage therapist too.
A
lot of things.
You began your career several years ago after stepping out of full-time ministry. You spent nearly a decade with Cru, working on college campuses and internationally in South America, spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ as a missionary. In addition to your role in mortgage, you serve as a local development leader for My Village Ministries, an organization dedicated to family preservation and solving issues related to our foster system. You are also a husband, a father of two young daughters, avid volunteer, and most importantly, you guys are both lovers and followers of Jesus.
Amen.
So,
Correct. Yeah.
awesome intros. That's why I love working with you guys every single day.
Yes.
So
Thanks for
really
the
cool.
intro.
As long as that wasn't written by AI. Then.
I don't use AI anymore. I committed to that.
Yeah.
So I never really used it for anything that I write, but I did run it through for grammar.
Mm-hmm.
So like all the things that I write are original, but then it's tempting to not run it through and say like, hey, can you correct any grammatical errors and make this, flow correctly? I'm not going to do it anymore. After a conversation I had with Steve earlier, it's like, I think people want authentic, real human touch.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's fine if it doesn't flow sometimes,
You don't use AI for anything, do you? I mean, for mortgage related stuff?
No, not really. The only time I use it is United Wholesale Mortgage, one of the things we plug into. If I want to know a specific, overlay for them, instead of rummaging through all their documents, I'll use their AI thing to just say, hey, what do I need to do for this, or that.
I mean, it comes in handy, but I think that one of the things that you were saying the other day is a lot of companies out there now are saying, oh, we're leveraging AI for this and we're leveraging AI for that. And you're like, well, I kind of want customers to know when you come to me, like you are getting me and you're getting 12 years of experience and my know-how.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, obviously you can use it as a tool and not as a crutch, you know, so that's kind of what we need to do. But yeah, I think overall, just the thing that I don't like about it, I guess, is the follow-up being fake, you know, being a robot. So
it's true.
That's the main thing I'm against, I think. Not necessarily maybe using tools to, you know, get better at making things more efficient, but more fake, you know, it's pretending to be me, but it's not me. I just don't like that. Yeah.
You don't want to impersonating you. Yeah. Well, let me tee up what this show is going to be about, because what I said in the intro, we do interview a lot of leaders who have put faith first, and they're operating by Christian principles within their business or using their business to advance the kingdom through their mission or through donations monetarily. There's a lot of cool things going on. Mm-hmm. We haven't interviewed anybody yet that's working inside of a Christian business. So what I'm hoping that we can get out today is, you know, some of the differences you guys have seen, some of the things that, you know, whether it's working with customers or third parties, or the ways that you are able to have influence through our mission, and really what that's like. So Steve, I'm going to tee you up. Well, Steve Greaves, I'm going to tee you up with the question first.
Sure.
Before we get into that, I've known you your entire life, so you're one of the few people that I can say that about. You took a couple big leaps just to even do mortgage. So if you go rewind the clock back to 2014, you moved away from our hometown in St. Louis, you know, and came up and you joined a company at the time that was 90 days old that I was at, to take your first, you know, role in mortgage. And then if you go rewind the clock back to 2023, in April, you joined Tithe Lending when it was only 30 days old and just in its infancy stage. So what role did your faith play in those decisions? You know, what made you want to take the risks that you've taken with your career so far?
Yeah, I would say, you know, faith plays a huge role in every decision that I make. And I think the biggest thing is just trusting that the things that are coming your way, that you know, like you're looking at a path and you're saying, what's the next step? And if a step is appearing and you feel at peace with it, it's almost like, okay, I'm going to trust God that he's putting this here for a reason. So like back in, like you said, 2012, when I was first kind of deciding, hey, what career path do I want to take? You guys were hiring aggressively, and a lot of the places around St. Louis weren't. And I just thought, even though I'm going to leave behind, I had a ton of friends and obviously a ton of family. You know, we have 100 cousins.
Yeah, a lot of family.
Yeah, a lot of family, a lot of friends.
We're Catholic.
And then you go to a place where you don't know anybody, right? But you feel like, okay, there's a bigger plan here. And at the time, like looking back now, I didn't know what that plan necessarily would become. But I almost feel like, you know, slowly God was leading me to this company, even though this company didn't even exist yet.
Yeah.
If you look at the things that happened at the last company, like the growth that I had, and really being thrown into the fire in a lot of situations where you're like, hey, I just have to figure this out. I have to grow immensely to learn. I have to learn so much. And sometimes you're like, man, I don't want to do this. This is uncomfortable. This isn't fun.
Yeah.
But then you see, okay, well, it all works out to where I got really good at figuring out, you know, solutions. Like most people don't know, mortgages are kind of like a giant puzzle a lot of times. And if you don't know how to put it together, you're not going to be able to figure out how to get things across the finish line. Yeah. Or, you know, somebody who wants a loan, someone who wants to buy a house might be told they can't unless you have the expertise, you know, that I was able to get by having all these
it's like
years.
A puzzle, but you don't even know what all the pieces are unless you know what they are. It's like, hey, here's a puzzle, but like you have to go figure out what the pieces are.
Right. Yeah.
Before you can even put it together. So if you don't know the questions to ask, if you don't know, it's true.
Yeah. So, you know, that played a big role, I would say, in starting there. And then, you know, when we were kind of talking about the concept of what this company would look like, you know, before it was named Tithe Lending. And I think I was just, again, at peace with knowing that, hey, I'm going to trust that God's going to help us make this work. And then at the end of the day, you have to be really humble. You have to just, hey, I'm not going to have expectations of if this doesn't happen, then it's not God willed, because God knows better than us, how to make everything work together.
Yeah.
God pulls everything together in history for the greater good. So
yeah,
that's kind of been the faith that I've stood behind, is just trusting God is the biggest thing.
Yeah. I mean, was it hard at first, or did you feel like, okay, once I took the step, you got confirmation from God along the way that, yeah, this was the right path?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of things that happened early on at Tithe, for sure, that made me feel like this is the right path. I mean, some of the stuff that happened to you guys obviously was proof, and we can talk about some of that. But for me specifically, I mean, one of the things that happened early on was the guy that we signed up with, Jeff Mers, signed up for HR services, invites us to a prayer breakfast. I go to that prayer breakfast, and I'm sitting right next to Jim Gernetsky, who is a guy who started Nos Lumine, which is a Catholic men's group. Their whole focus is, how can you weave your faith into your work? Exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
Sit next to him. And then within a week of that, I met one of the best realtors in the city, Dan Cleary, and meet him and his wife, Michelle, who are amazing people. And they've been a huge part of my success here, being able to work with them.
Yeah.
And that all came from, I don't know, how did you, I don't even remember how you guys got introduced to Jeff Mers.
Jeff was just the guy who randomly got assigned to us when we first started out, and we said, hey, we're going to go out. We want to offer fantastic benefits as a small company, and you can do that through a PEO, and Insperity is one of those. And we chose Insperity because of just the suite of services and stuff that they had, and Jeff was just our rep. So that was placed there. It wasn't like we sought him out. It was just, that all happened, quote unquote, randomly. We know that nothing's random, but that's how it worked. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's amazing. And that was one of the things that early on I was like, wow, if I never came over here, I would have never met those people. And now, as you know, they're some of my best friends, and
I think that's why you're on the board of the Friends of the Josephinum. Yeah,
that's another connection that happened through that whole thing. Was Dan and Michelle were on the board of the Friends of the Josephinum, which is an amazing group. It's been around for a long time. Just a group of lay people that volunteer to say, hey, we think that the seminarians need our help. Obviously, like, as people know, they don't make any money. A lot of people, it costs money to go to college, obviously. So they're in formation for 8 years before they can join the priesthood, which is, a huge calling. They give up their whole lives for that. And so what can we do to serve them? And that's been an amazing organization to be a part of. Everybody who's in there, just great people who love the Lord and love the mission of helping the seminarians. So yeah, that's been really cool.
I never really even thought about like the trail of things that happened there, but because we chose Insperity and you met Jeff Mers and he invited you and you meet Gernetsky, and then Gernetsky introduces you to Cleary, and not only is Cleary, we're serving the kingdom together through real estate and mortgage finance. Yeah. But now you're serving on the board of something that's near and dear to your heart because of the invitation from him. I mean, kind of cool just how God places things in our path that at first, sometimes you can't see where it's going to go. You don't even notice it. Yeah. But then in hindsight is when you can really notice it when you look at the timeline. Mm-hmm. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, and I think I would encourage anyone that's listening to this to look back at some of the moments in your life that you thought were dark moments. Yeah. Or I was unsure, or I don't know why I did that or why I went through that. And you can always find, it seems, you can find a path to, if it wasn't for that, then this next step couldn't have happened, know? So it's kind of cool to look back at that. Yeah.
All right. Coan, we're pivoting over to you real quick because well, you've had a journey that's been obviously very different than Steve's, but also uniquely interesting. So you spent, the first basically decade of your career after college in full-time ministry on college campuses. advancing the gospel.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if we'll get into it. Maybe we will if you want to, but like you were in Venezuela during the currency collapse, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. Then ended up in Jamaica.
But here's kind of the interesting turn that I've seen happen with your career. You started off purely ministry. Then you pivoted into mortgage, where we met at our last company, which was purely secular.
Yeah.
And now you kind of blend secular and ministry through our work here at Tithe. So it's kind of cool how that all came full circle and now it's come back together for you. But kind of give us some of the journey of what you've learned of going from ministry to secular to now blending the two. What was your background? How does it feel?
Yeah. I mean, one of the reasons I kind of left full-time ministry was like, I was also a part-time staff at a church as a youth director while being on crew staff. Turning 30, didn't have kids at the time. And I'm like, working with 10-year-olds through, 60 plus parents kind of thing. And I was like, I want to be a part of God's kingdom, maybe not having it as a job designation.
That's all you'd ever known. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, we're going to take a leap of faith. And, maybe one of the, things that allowed me to pretend like I had some security. And it was like, I had this invention idea on the side. I'm like, oh, I'm going to use that and I'm going to take a step of faith. And then, getting a job was a little more interesting than I thought in the humbling way, because transitioning careers doesn't go well with a resume. So I was working some connections, but it was slow moving. But I'm like, my friends have had, almost a decade experience building their careers. And I'm like, okay, this is not what I have, because ministry translates only so well.
Yeah.
And so
relational skills.
Yeah. So many relational skills. And so ended up at lower.com when they were booming, they were hiring, maybe the quickest to get back to me a little bit. And I was like, all right, it knew some people and talked to them. And,
but mortgage wasn't the thing that you were pursuing originally. You're like, you know what? I really want to break in to mortgage.
Yeah. No, it was more, I need a job.
Yeah.
I need to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And then I knew some people who spoke well on the inside with Lower, and I think they spoke well at the time because everything was great, right? The mortgage industry financially couldn't have been better.
Yeah.
And kind of more lucrative at the time. And I was like, oh, it seems like things are popping. I'll be around people. And so it was interesting actually joining lower.com and getting through everything. And I was like, wait a minute, this is kind of interesting because I'm actually around just the age group of what I was kind of ministering to, but just like a little bit older.
A lot of like young 20s.
Just graduated. Yeah. So I was like with people. And that was actually very, praise God for it, very refreshing in a way of like, I was just their coworker. And by being their coworker, you were able to have really, really personal, relational interactions. And then I was like, I would just...
Yeah, their guard's not up.
Yeah, I'll just speak out of my honest experience. And then I didn't feel pressure to be like, oh, this is my job. I need to direct conversations a certain way or make them realize certain things about God.
Yeah.
Where really, it was a great time of like offering my presence to them and some really sweet stories and friendships that, are so long lasting and still to this day happen. And I love the environment too, because it's a wild, crazy environment. Sales, we know.
Oh yeah. So, sales, happy hours.
Long
hours, crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when people were making good money too,
Yep.
So it was really interesting to be there when things really started to dry up.
Yeah.
But I think, it was, for me, it was enlivening. And then, it's interesting where I went to another mortgage company after, because I'm still almost like pursuing this invention idea on the side. So I still haven't even like fully committed to mortgages yet. I'm like, I'm kind of getting to where I am next. And I remember when Mark was starting up Tithe. Well, so actually at lower.com, my first two interactions with Mark a little bit were, a bunch of us new hires introduced ourselves at the time. And I mentioned what I did, and he was like, "Oh, selling for Jesus." And I was like, "Yeah, maybe. I never thought of it that way." But I was like, "Oh, maybe he's a friend. Maybe he's a brother." And then we kind of interacted. And then I gave you a book, "Surprised by the Power of the Spirit."
I remember,
by Jack Deere. Yeah. And I was like, I feel like he would like this. And whether he did or not, who knows? But at least it was memorable. And so when you were starting Tithe, you kind of reached out to me.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you remember this, but our first meeting that was supposed to happen, I ran over a muffler on the highway. So my tire was shredded. So that meeting never happened.
Yeah.
And then And then we met, and then I actually was like, almost like, I don't know if I want to join a Christian company.
Yeah. I remember.
I don't know if I trust, maybe we'll get into this, but when you throw the term Christian on something, well, a little hesitant.
Is it just a marketing tool?
Yeah. And so even wasn't totally committed to mortgages at the time. So I said no, actually. Yeah. And then
I remember you said, like, I'm actually trying to, like, not work in a strictly Christian business. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and it was like a year later.
Yeah.
You called and said, hey, let's take a look at how this would go.
I was like, hey, I wasn't really working out of the company I was with, and you know, in a great way, still developing a lot of relationships and different things. But I was like, all right, I saw you guys from afar. I'm like, okay, they're at least doing it. Yeah, I think.
It's such a good point, because talking about this, like, if you're an employee and you're looking around, like, I do think at the time we were a new Christian company.
Yeah.
So we had a mission statement and we had intentions that we wanted to go do what we were going to do, but there was no track record. We hadn't had an opportunity to put our money where our mouth was yet, or as you say, put our mouth where our money is.
Yeah, put our mouth where our money is.
You definitely don't want to reverse that phrase.
No.
But no, I think that, we hadn't had the mission play out. There wasn't a lot of evidence.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm like, I didn't even know you and your background much at the time and different things.
But I think that's important, like, if for leaders who are listening and you're thinking about, like, hey, if I want to go incorporate a mission that has more to do with just my product or service, as opposed to, like, our mission doesn't read that. It reads to honor God with our work and love our neighbor with the proceeds.
Yeah.
Most businesses, when you read their mission statement, it has something to do with their product or service, and it says, like, hey, we want to do this for a really long time and satisfy customers doing this thing that we do for as long as we can. That's kind of what it says.
Yeah.
When you go out and you're doing it and you're doing it differently, sometimes employees are going to want to know, like, how true is this? Because if it's just something that's surface level and it's used for marketing, like, oh, I want Christians to do business with my company because I'm Christian too, a lot of times you're going to see people run from that. But when there's evidence and it's true and it's deep, and it's like a conviction that's held from everybody that works within it, then it can stick. So, I mean, I'll throw it back to you, Steve. I mean, what's different about working with a mission that is like ours is, where the service and the product that we provide of mortgage, obviously that's the tangible thing that we do, but the reason why we do it and what we use it for is different. How's that different from what you've experienced in the past?
Yeah, I think it all just boils down to, you want to be part of something bigger that is, I guess the way I would phrase it is it's rightly ordered, right? So, like, for us as individuals, no matter where we work, we can be rightly ordered, where we say, hey, God's first in my life.
Yeah.
There's different ways of proving that to yourself, or to put things in place to make sure that you're actually doing that. And for our company, like, you can say, hey, we put God first, and then there's no evidence, right? That could be something that someone could do. Well, for us, I mean, the evidence is, I mean, obviously the way that we handle the finances, there's evidence right there. And then, just incorporating prayer for, into every meeting, like that's huge. Before you start the meeting, you start with prayer. That's putting that God comes first before the meetings. So I think that helps keep you grounded as someone who works for a business like that. So, like, for us, it's easier for me to feel good about what I'm doing. I can always love my neighbor as far as, hey, I'm going to give the best deal and the best service to every client. But then knowing that the finances of the company are rightly ordered, that's huge.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned prayer before meetings, which is kind of crazy because it's my next question on here. Like, we do that. And I wanted to see from your guys' perspective, how does that change the nature of, like, any of the goals that we're trying to pursue, or any of the conversation about whether it's customer pipelines or whether it's, referral partners that we're trying to influence and assist? It changes the nature of how we look at people when we start with prayer. And I know prayer is big with you, other Steve. Give me your guys' perspective on what has that done to kind of shift your mentality around the focus of our work, and then what does prayer really specifically mean to you guys in your life, and maybe how do you put it in play? We'll start with you.
Yeah, I think, we even hit on maybe AI in the beginning, and maybe the worst of it is like, you get in the assembly line, bottom line, simply being productive. Your soul almost wants to like rebel from that, because the two things that bring you to life are connection with God and connection with others.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, by praying, like connection with God. And then in a sense, like hopefully our job brings us into connection with others. And I think in any job, there's a temptation to, forget maybe even the connection with others. Bottom line driven, different things, expansion. In a business sense, there's always that tension maybe between, well, if we don't make money, we won't exist. But then if we do things a certain way to make money, we maybe lose integrity.
That's true.
And that's a beautiful tension of a place that brings you to prayer, because it's like, like I want to do the best by my customers. And sometimes it's like, it's at the cost of yourself a little bit, where I think we can say in this industry, and maybe any kind of thing, is trying to, if you're protecting the bottom line at the expense of the client, then
well, that's what it is like you're mentioning connectedness, and a lot of times there's another word, leverage. Like, so instead of connecting with customers, each other, and partners, it's like, hey, how can I leverage these partnerships and leverage my employees and leverage my customers to get the maximum bottom line? But I feel like when there's a real relationship and you're connected to people, that feels a lot different than when you're being leveraged. Like, you can just tell.
Yeah.
So I think that as far as like prayer goes, when you're connected to God first, it's a lot simpler to connect with people, because we see them as having real value as God does. Yeah. So it's I mean, at least like when I experience that, when we do that as a team, the way that you guys talk about your referral partners and the way that you guys talk about your customers, and just the general joy and happiness you feel when they succeed, that comes out in the meeting.
Yeah, because you're like, how do I will the best for the other? And then I think, along with Tithe Lending, the tithing costs the company. And so you're like, okay, and in some ways, connection hinges upon like, how much am I willing to, in a sense, forego my gain for the betterment of somebody else. But then you realize, like, seek first the kingdom, and everything else is thrown in. So you're like, actually, like you get everything you need. And that can look different in different scenarios, and all these things, but hopefully you're praying even throughout the process of engagement, right?
No, I appreciate that, because it's like none of us that are here are in it for the maximum earthly gain. We need earthly gain because we're participating on the earth as we speak. So like, money is the thing that comes in handy to go fuel our lives, but there is a line, and I think we're all here pursuing something very different. So I think that it's a unique piece of our team.
And I think in any job, it's easy to be like, I really want something easier that makes more money. And those are times to pray. To be like, oh, Lord, that's not what I really want. And so a company centered around fostering that sense of not having to want that is big.
Before I kick it back to Steve, what's your personal prayer life like? How do you do it?
Been loving this Romanian Orthodox nun.
I was wondering if you're going to bring her up.
Mama Siluana. And really it's like, maybe like God doesn't go where he's not invited. And so usually the places I don't want anybody is in my fear. And so, because I don't want to experience my fear. And fear can even be stress, anxiety, different things like worry. Even worrying sometimes feels good because it makes you feel like you're in control. And so I keep like even my spouse out of that, let alone like God. And so it's like God doesn't really go where he's not invited. So it's like, oh Lord, like what kind of Mother Siluana says is like, it doesn't matter what we do, think, feel, or experience. It's whether we do think, feel, or experience with or without God. And he doesn't want to annihilate our desires and impulses. He wants to restore them and bring us about. And so that's almost been like, oh, I invite God in everything. I pray. I, in a sense, interact. Every opportunity is interaction, especially with deep feelings. Those are maybe the greatest places for God's healing and light to get into, in which I almost want to keep dark. So talk about it.
Yeah.
So
that's good. I'm kicking it over to you, Steve. What about personal prayer life?
Personal prayer life. I think, lately, one of the biggest things I've been trying to focus on is humility. So, and I say that meaning, I always used to hear people say that, humility is one of the virtues that you get from the Holy Spirit. And, I think of humble as like, don't think that you're so great, but what I've found is humility really is just reliance on God, full reliance on God, and knowing, okay, there is a God who's all knowing, everywhere, all powerful, and it's not me. So,
yeah.
And so, instead of expecting like, oh, I need to pray a certain way, it's more, God, I trust you, and I want you to be living in my heart, and that was something that kind of crossed my mind when I was reading St. Augustine. I was reading some of his writings, and he said, if I could choose 4 virtues, he said humility 4 times. Humility, because that's the thing that everything else hinges on. Like, until you recognize that, like, you fully need Jesus, you fully need God, there's nothing you can do without him.
Yeah, we don't breathe without him.
We don't breathe without him. Yeah, like, you can put it that way. Yeah. But to grow in holiness, you want to walk like Jesus did. To be able to do that, you really need him in your life. So I've been just inviting, hey, God, you know better than I do what things, I need. Just please allow me to be open to it, open my heart, just inviting him in. And then the other thing that is huge in my life is just being thankful. I mean, pretty much every day I look at, okay, what can I be thankful for? And I mean, every day, obviously, I'm thankful for my wife. She's amazing. Every day I'm thankful for my daughter, but what other things can you be thankful for, just to keep your head in the right space of, God has given me a wonderful life, and he can do that for everyone who puts their faith in him.
Yeah, I think a couple like really, really good points. And as you were just talking, I think one of the unique things about the way that we've operated as a team is some of the goals that we have each quarter that we kind of bring up every meeting and we hold each other accountable for, from time to time. They're not just production goals and volume and sales. A lot of them are on the personal side. So whether it's being in scripture, whether it's like a deeper prayer life or things like that. You guys have brought it up. One of the cool things I remember from a couple summers ago when you guys had Emma, was you would say like, hey, I'm up early in the morning and I'm feeding her, so I'm just going to pray a rosary every day. Yeah. I mean, just those little things. Talk about that. Like you have a whole separate show on this, but you're a top performing loan officer. I think you're probably top 1% in the state. So it's little habits, but it's not just little habits that make you good at business. It's like these little habits that deeper in your actual prayer life. What did that do for you?
Yeah, really, again, it comes back to being rightly ordered. You want your flesh, you want your body to serve the Lord. Don't want it to be the other way where your fleshly desires are ruling your life, and ruling your mind and the way that you think. So, a lot of people don't know what the rosary is all about. It's meditation on the life of Jesus. So like every decade you're thinking about something else. You could be thinking about the crucifixion, could be thinking about transfiguration, those different things. So you're really supposed to be meditating on the life of Christ and just trying to get to know him better through meditation. It's a meditation prayer. And so that was something that I did when she was a baby. It was easier to fit that in with, hey, I have to be holding her. And, babies feed for 10, 15 minutes. She was a slow drinker. Now she chugs her milk really fast. But at the beginning, that was something that I thought, oh, wow, I can take advantage of this. God's slowing me down.
Yeah.
Because I have to be slow to serve this child. But the other thing is having a kid, I think it opens your eyes to how God views us as his children and how we should view him as, a child. I was actually listening. I listened on Spotify to Gospel of Matthew on the way here because I had an hour and I thought, well, why not listen to it? And it was Jesus saying that, you should be like a child and seek the kingdom of heaven like a child. And I think about that when I watch her grow and how she's so innocent, she doesn't really know pretty much anything. I mean, you look at kid, they would walk right down the stairs and fall down the stairs because they don't know any better. So but they trust you to guide them as the father.
Yeah.
And me and Andy Whiteman, he's actually in the seminary. Andy's a realtor that we work with, which is great. He always talks about that, the heart of the father. When you love your kids and you look at them, you can learn the heart of God as father, which is cool.
No, that's really, really cool. And I think so you just kind of brought up Andy, so I'll kick it over to both of you guys to answer this is, because we have a component to our business, a depth in our business that is a mission that's beyond just the product and service. I want to know how that helps potentially connect with customers who our heart and their heart are united. So like when we know that we're united over the central focus of our lives, the thing that's the most important to us, what does it do to the relationships that you can form with customers? Do you guys have any stories or examples of that?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, I've actually seen people who don't maybe identify with being a Christian in our mission and or Catholic and things, but almost like they sense the integrity maybe that I have.
Yeah.
Hopefully bring to it, or like even hopefully it's the life of Christ that I approach it with to explain to them like all costs involved and the time that I give. And I've actually had some good feedback on that. Just be like, thank you. And
it's an interesting point you make because there's research on that basically companies that operate with a Christian or biblical worldview or perspective or mission or what have you, most, even if they aren't Christian, they're not worried about that. It's not like they're going to deny using your company for business. Mm-hmm. At that point, they're evaluating based off of, price, convenience, experience, things like that. But the genuineness and, basically the integrity, I think that does come out.
Yeah.
Have you experienced anything different?
Yeah. A lot of the clients that I work with who understand what the word tithe means. Yeah. There's some people who, when they get introduced to us, they don't really even
know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, they don't know that that's a religious word. Yeah. They don't know any better. But the ones who do and ask me what it means, it's cool to connect with them because you kind of see how they live their life and what's important to them. And you can kind of, it's like an instant connection where you can almost be like, we know each other because we know we both have the same faith. Yeah. Sometimes it's like, hey, I know you because we both grew up in St. Louis. This is a different angle of it where it's like, we both serve the same God. We both trust him with tithing. I mean, like that's a big thing.
Yep.
So that's been cool. And then, the clients who then say, hey, can we pray together about this? I'll say, I wish I could pray with every single client, but with how busy it is, it's like it's not enough time to bring that into the conversation when you're just trying to get them pre-approved and get their finances in order so they can buy the house.
Yeah,
doesn't always come up in the conversation, but the ones that do, it's a special moment to be able to pray together, and they say, it's great that we can do that with our loan officer. We would have never thought that was something that we'd be doing.
No, I think it's a great point because the trust is already there. It's like when we are all on the same page, we're all in the same family of God, and we all understand, who it is that we serve. It's an instant connection that's you can't really overcome.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool. All right. So pivoting into this, we carve out, specific time that we all love to volunteer. We actually track it, because we want to be out in the community serving. It's not just about the money, but we want to make sure that like boots on the ground, be in the hands and feet of Christ. Mm-hmm. There's something different that happens when you connect with people that you serve, like on the front lines of service versus like from a distance, just writing a check. And I know both of you guys are now involved in a couple of different things. Steve, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah.
Most recently, My Village Ministries, which I know is connected to your heart. Mm-hmm. That's how you introduced them to our company, which and to Tithe Foundation.
Yeah.
And then also with Harambe Christian Schools, where you've been a dedicated tutor down there.
Yeah.
Speak to a couple of the volunteer things. Like, why is it that you're working with these organizations? And then maybe what's special about the fact that we encourage that, from the company side?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with Harambe, getting a volunteer and tutor for reading, maybe personally, like I remember, I did really well when I would just have somebody kind of be there and sit with me and give me a presence. And it's amazing how much kids with certain backgrounds, you just need somebody to show up consistently. And then all of a sudden, oh, you can focus because you have somebody who cares about you.
Yeah.
And so being able to provide this simple consistency each week is awesome. And then, it comes at a cost too, because you're like, well, it's not very productive. Nobody really sees me showing up to Harambe.
Yep.
And so, but it's, the gain is, yeah. It doesn't cost. If you looked at it in a certain way,
Sure.
a certain perspective, maybe in the typical, I think it's fair to say this, in the typical loan officer industry, like it wouldn't be seen as a good move.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's awesome. Yeah. With My Village Ministries, that was one of the first connections I got, the Tithe Foundation. Cause it's like, oh wow, they're, the way I'm talking about them now is like, they're almost like lead generation for the church.
Yeah.
Where they've set up, so many relationships with the church to, in a sense, like tee them up to help vulnerable and needy kids and families who have experienced a crisis and are socially isolated.
And there's some beautiful stories that have come out of
Yeah.
that where, a family in need, where they just basically need temporary support, where
Yeah.
these kids would otherwise end up in the foster system
Yeah.
long term.
Yeah. So I know Melody's been on this.
Over anywhere.
So,
just from a
go look
couple
at
of
her.
days.
Yeah.
But I think the cool thing that you're bringing up though
Yeah.
is those families that get assisted by the church, a lot of times are then invited into that church
Yeah.
where they are like, okay, well, I just got helped by these people because they love Jesus. Maybe I need to figure out who this
Yeah.
Jesus is.
Yeah. It's so foundational to like they're willing to help me again, like sacrifice
Yeah.
time, effort, whatever they could be doing to help me. Yeah.
What a good point though, because that family didn't experience the love of Christ because someone went and told them about Jesus. It was they experienced it firsthand because someone participated in their struggle and got down into the dirt with them like Jesus
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
and just showed them, firsthand, like tangible results.
Yeah.
So kicking it over to you. So I know you volunteered a bunch of different places, but with the Friends of Josephinum, I know that that's near and dear to your heart. What are some of the things that you're seeing, happen through that organization?
Yeah, mostly just trying to raise funds, as far as getting different fundraisers. They have a couple long-standing ones that are great. The one that I'm kind of helping out with is they're changing it to the 5K. It was the 4 miler. Now it's the 5K. They've updated the map.
So what is that?
It's the Friends of the Josephinum 5K.
No, but how much farther distance is that?
No, it's less. 5K.
Oh,
is,
really?
5K is 3.1 miles, and the 4 miler is 4 miles. So they lessened it because some of the revenue from the race was just secular people who like to sign up for races.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, this one's in my neighborhood, I'm signing up. Well, they didn't like that it was as hilly as it is. Apparently, this was the kind of feedback we got from some of the race people there. It's, hey, I don't know if I want to do this race again because there's too many hills and it's making my time worse. I guess, I'm not like in the runner community like this, but I guess maybe they do, a race every month or something like that, a 5K, and they really like to see their time go up and be on the leaderboards and these kind of things. See, that's how I understood it. So we recarved the race.
To make it a flatter 5K?
Yeah. So that's kind of the idea.
Well, now I'm more excited to run it this year because
see.
it's not as far.
Yeah. So that's the one that I've been, that we've sponsored and then we've helped out with certain things. So one of the big things that I'm, that we're trying to do now is just get more sponsors, reaching out to businesses and trying to get more of that. But we have a board meeting every quarter where we discuss the different items. One of the coolest fundraisers that raises the most money is called the Clergy Who Cook, which is basically just a dinner where the priests from each parish come out and they have to cook the meal for everybody. So people pay money to have tables and have a priest cook for them.
Is it like Iron Chef style?
Yeah. I think
Do they have to open the box? They don't even know what the ingredients are. It's like, all right, open it up. And for the main course, you have...
No, I'm
Are they pretty good
It will,
cooks?
it will be next year.
To be honest, I haven't gone to it myself. But from what I understand, it's like the priest has their own recipes that they're like, hey, I'm good at this, and that's what they're doing. Okay. So next year is supposed to be bigger, and I plan on attending next year.
That's that's very, very interesting. All right, so I'm going to pivot just to a couple of like quick rapid fires. You love doing that, don't you?
Yeah.
That's why I love having you around.
I do it a third time. I missed one earlier, and I was
okay. So when you guys think about like your work, at Tithe Lending over the last couple of years, like what are a couple of like the most rewarding stories that you can remember because our mission was able to go solve those? And that can be on the nonprofit side or inside the business of mortgage, but just give me kind of some of the most rewarding pieces that you can remember from your time so far.
Yeah, well, think about one. It's like half rewarding, half like intensity. Because it was the night my wife went into labor, and like I had a file, like 3 files were dependent upon closing, and
like if one didn't close, like the train of closings can't happen?
The dominoes fell. So it's like because this person's buying this person's house, who's buying this person's house.
Oh, geez.
And like this one person, maybe the middle person, had just a wild tax situation that really needed a lot of documentation and different things. So things were coming down to the wire of just like, this is really confusing. And like 6 p.m. hit, everything's fine. Like we're good. Okay. So felt really accomplished working through weird tax stuff. And then I was like, man, I really could use just one night's sleep. And because our daughter that we have was also not sleeping at the time. Wife's going to pop at any moment. And then I was like, I just use one night's sleep and then we're good. We'll just rock this. And then like 40 minutes later, Sarah's water breaks. And then you're going. So I just remember those files vividly. And you're like, let's go. So
unbelievable.
So it's professional accomplishment and then put right into life.
Well, that's a funny story.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Oh, for me, the most rewarding stuff in the company, well, client wise, is like I've had several people who come out, reach out to me because, realtors kind of see me as, this guy can figure things out. And hey, this lender told them they can't close anymore. We got this thing's been going on for 3 weeks now. We're supposed to close in 2 weeks. Like, can you help? One of them that comes to mind was a veteran who they were told that they couldn't qualify because their debt ratio is too high, whatever. And it was just because the lender was charging a crazy high rate compared to what's available. So I got to not only save them from losing the house, losing their earnest money, not having a place to live, but I also saved them a ton of money because we had a better product and we finished it way faster than, so like that feels good when you can, buying a house is something that's stressful for most people. But it's also really meaningful because that's where you're going to raise your kids and live and sleep every night, that have memories. It's so meaningful that if I can help them get one of those, get a house, that means a lot. But I think on the foundation side, I don't know. I've seen a lot of stuff that's pretty moving. I mean, you look at some of the stuff that's helping homeless, some of the homeless guys who no one's ever given them a chance. Like you learn from some of these people that they went through a pretty rough life where they didn't have someone that believed in them or gave them any kind of tools. And some of these organizations that we support, the people truly believe that like, hey, if I give this guy a chance and trust that God can transform this person, then they can be better off. And then you see these guys getting transformed. Whereas, God sends us to do some of that stuff, obviously in his name and with his power. But unless you actually have the ability to go out and do it, like some of these things require funding, right? And you need gospel patrons. Yeah. And it's cool to be a gospel patron. I like that.
No, that's really, really cool. One of the things you guys are hitting on right now that is just the truth is that the mission that we run, so if there's other leaders that are listening to this that they want to go forward with a mission that's similar to this, where it's not just about the product, you got to remember a lot of that mission is going to be for the people who work within the company. Because to the outside customer, they still want you to be really good at the job. So like if we don't have sharp interest rates, if we don't have good turn times, if we don't have experts to guide and, navigate some of these situations that are a little bit tricky and sticky, we're not going to get business.
Yeah.
No one's going to be like, yeah, those guys stink at their job, but they got a great mission, so let's go use them for whatever it is that they're that's not how it works. So we still have to be experts and be excellent at this and have our pricing and the experience and everything be correct.
Yeah.
But then the mission is something that's going to connect us together that we get to go do together for Jesus. What were you going to say?
Yeah. And I really like the sense of like where so many accomplishments are where it's like if people cannot qualify for a house, giving them a game plan to be like, this is what you would need to do. And then so a couple clients, having worked with a couple clients over 2 years, is always really rewarding because you're like, oh, you were able to help somebody in a way that you didn't. I don't know if it's going to pay off, I guess, or but it's really rewarding to set people up so where it's like even if they can't qualify for a house, it's like okay, you know what to do. Or even a big thing is going through people's credit reports, and like you don't really look at those much until you have to normally. So it is, I mean, I don't know how many examples you want, but like people being alarmed of like their credit. Actually, my wife we have a funny story buying our house with Sarah's credit. She didn't know that she had a Verizon collection from 12 years ago that was like tanking her credit. So it's amazing. Yeah. In those situations to be like, hey, it's not the end of the world. There's some things we can do. And then specifically directing them to help maybe get some things off of credit or here's what you would need to do. Let's set up the next 6 months.
No, that makes sense. So when you guys think back, there's last couple questions I've got is before starting at Tithe, what opportunities did you have in the workplace as a Christian to go influence, folks for Christ? I mean, Knife, you've already hit on it for, a little bit here, but what opportunities were there that you took? And then were there opportunities now looking back that that you missed that maybe if you had this mindset before you could have put to work?
Well, just having conversations with people and living your life, in a way that does serve God, I think that's kind of what gets people curious about it. That's what's funny about, the country that we're in is pretty much, it's not suppressed. Like everybody knows who Jesus is as far as like historically, like who that is and who Christians say he is, and then they still, some still choose to reject. So I think just opening people's mind to kind of digging into, okay, why do you think that this isn't important? I could have definitely had more conversations like that. I had quite a few, with people, and some of them were wanting to learn. Others totally shut off, but I think influencing people in the workplace is just really getting to know them and then introducing them to, hey, this is who Jesus really is. And can that be something that transforms their life? You kind of let the Holy Spirit do the work for the most part, but I think giving them that seed that could grow, could have done that more, but I definitely did do it before this, but yeah.
Makes sense. Anything that you feel like that you could have expanded on, or opportunities that you feel like are out there?
Yeah. Can you repeat the question a little bit?
Yeah. Like before when, prior to working at Tithe, we were working in the secular world.
Yeah.
Was there a way that you could, like opportunities that were missed to go share the love of Jesus, or ways that you feel like you could have done it that maybe you would go back and redo? Yeah.
Maybe because I have like the opposite experience of like going from ministry to secular, like, actually like at lower.com, I probably was known for maybe talking too much to my coworkers or other people a little bit because I wasn't used to the,
I'm sure that's probably not a bad thing though.
Yeah, no, it wasn't bad. I mean, no, I hit all my numbers in different ways where, so it's like, maybe there's like, there was a high emphasis on just like being in your chair and grinding it out.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, because it's like the metrics are there and you chase them and it's great. So I would say I wouldn't change that. So looking back, I'm like, I'm glad I actually kind of like kept my approach of like, I want to get to know everybody on my team within reason and different things and set up lunches and things like that. So maybe it could be easy in a secular sense to forget that like you're around people you can be super relational with.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's fair to say. Even
Well,
based
here's
on your
another
experience.
question, and then put it another way is, what has working under this mission cost you? Is there anything that it's cost you, and is it worth it? What do you think?
It's probably.
I don't think it has cost me anything. I mean, it's kind of, I don't know. I haven't really thought about that because I've been, like I said, the main thing I've been focusing on with my own intellect and will is being like, God knows better than I do. So if this business opened its door to me and it's doing things that are spreading the gospel and serving, like you said, loving your neighbor, if it's doing all that, then I don't ever think about the cost. So I probably have to think about that a little bit, but that's what people who follow Jesus have to not count costs, because again, over time, everything works in the favor of God. I mean, that's how he operates. He's supreme.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I think it is easier than I would admit to be like, yeah, is it better somewhere else? Or even, I was at another two other mortgage companies, and you're like, could I go somewhere else to make more money? That thought's always there. I mean,
there's always another bidder.
Oh, it's like somebody did say, I read recently that I really like, it's like if you're looking at somebody else's grass, like go water your own.
Yeah.
And you're like, in our context, you like, okay, if I'm not bringing things to the Lord, like you're constantly doing that. And then maybe, in a funny way with mortgages, you see everybody else's jobs. And some days when things are hard, you're like, man, should I have taken that job? Because I see, and maybe talk to them a little bit about their job and different things. So you're like, maybe
I used to daydream all the time whenever I was in like peak pressure and stress. I would look out the window and see whoever the guy was that was cutting the grass of the building I was working in, and be like, I think I'd rather just be cutting the grass right now.
Well, and maybe that's such a like foundational thing in like whether you're at a Christian company or not. Like you're just like, when things get stressful, when you're like, I don't want this hard, like where can I go to get out of this? Yeah,
and you would trade it for anything in the moment potentially.
Yeah, especially things that maybe you don't know. Like it's easier to imagine something you don't know going well, than something you do know. So it would be easy almost to be like, oh, tithe is costing me this, or my job's costing me this. Where it's like, it's probably usually it's not until maybe it is.
Yeah, but you're thinking, no, it's just life.
Yeah,
I mean, really, that's what it ends up boiling down to.
Yeah. So talk about like needing prayer. It's like that's what peak stress, different things like that. You have to go back to prayer to really get it right. Yeah, right ordered sense of flesh. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, that's I learned that from Thomas Aquinas too. He talked about it. It made a lot of sense to me. I thought, man, this is good stuff.
Yeah.
No, but some people have asked me, like honestly, early on, hey, aren't you afraid that someone's gonna look at you and say, oh, you're a Christian, you think you're better than everybody, and it's funny when people say that, because like when you really know what being a Christian is, it's exactly what I said, is knowing that like I can't do anything good. This is only Jesus can do this, only the Holy Spirit can do this, and I honestly never thought of it. And I haven't had any fear, thankfully. And I think that's a gift. I think honestly, it's the Holy Spirit's giving me that gift of not being afraid to be part of this. I do think that there is loan officers who have looked at this and thought, I would like to be a part of it, but they're too afraid to wear it. You know what I mean? Like being outwardly Christian. Yeah. People can judge you for it, but luckily,
you're under a microscope a little more too, because your actions are you're trying to reflect the actions of Jesus. But I sympathize with those people, because if you go rewind the clock just a few years on even my life, I was afraid to hit like on a LinkedIn post that had anything to do with God. Like I was so afraid of what other people would think of me, knowing that I was a Christian. Yeah. Looking back now, I see those thoughts as like how ridiculous that is, but it's where I was. So like I get it. I get where people are, and it's just all in God's timing. But I do think that like exactly what you're saying is, it's not costing you because you fully embraced your identity in Christ.
Correct. And I've only had, I think it's only been one that I know of client who said, I don't want to work with them because I don't like, their belief system.
Yeah.
I think it's only been one time. So, maybe I'm just getting lucky, or, I guess it wouldn't be called luck.
The data says that. You're right on. It's, and then you probably have also had, I don't know how many clients who have come specifically because when they do see it, they're like, hey, I want to work with them because that resonates with me.
Yeah.
Most people, when they see it, if we have the lowest rate, they're like, oh, I'm not a Christian, but they got the lowest rate, so like they're not going to like deny themselves the savings.
Right. Yeah. And I think, I haven't had anyone, I guess, be against it, aggressively against it. But I have heard that for some of the nonprofits that we work with. They've had experiences where people are really against them coming into a space for whatever reason. But luckily for us, hasn't been too much of an issue. So.
Yeah. Well, the customer has choice. So
and it's like a mortgage.
Right.
Where you're like,
yeah, it's kind of interesting too. Yeah, because product wise, it's like, you have your mortgage forever, but having the process of getting the mortgage, it's only a 30-day thing. So
that's true.
Yeah. Well, part of it's like talking about what working at Tithe cost us. Maybe it's in a sense cost us a lot of, I don't know, cool trips or swag or different things because to Mark's credit, like in a sense it costs, but he almost fronts all the cost of the tithing. It's we don't maybe get as many perks.
I will say that is the main
steak dinners.
It is the one thing that comes along with, if you have a mission that is going to be, any piece of it is going to be substantially financial.
Yeah,
it's always a trade. So we haven't done President's Club trips, and we don't have lavish offices, and we don't spend money, in my opinion, like on things that the customer doesn't care about. Like there's no margin for a lot of ego-driven spending.
Well, and that's a good point actually, because savvy customers are kind of like, okay, you tithe, but like, if they know anything about business, it's like, isn't that baked into the margin that it costs me and everything like that? Where you're like,
no, it actually is a replacement for all those other things we don't spend money on.
And it's cheaper than the things that we don't spend money on too. So it's like, it actually isn't really baked into the margins.
Yeah, if you go get a microscope out to a lot of like larger corporations, there's a lot of spending that isn't the customer. So if you think about like, what does the customer care about in our business? And they want their money, cheaper if they can and simple to get, right? So if there's spending that's going on that it's not serving them and it's not making it any faster or simpler for the referral partners either, then it's like, okay, well, why are we doing it?
Yeah.
And you just got to be honest with yourself about that question.
Yeah.
But I guess you're right. That is what it costs, because we just don't have room for it.
And those things can be done super well too. Like, so we're not villainizing those kind of things as much as like,
it's just the choice we've made.
Yeah. It's just our model, different ways to go about it. And
yeah, it's true. Well, guys, first off, I appreciate you guys, being here and being willing to share all these different things, because I think this is great. I think the perspective on just the way that we operate internally and the way that it feels for you guys, how it resonates with customers, referral partners, and then just your willingness to be a part of this. You guys both have the biggest hearts that I know. I love being around you every single week, and I just appreciate you guys being on the show.
Yeah, iron sharpens iron. He's an iron knife.
Iron knife.
He's an iron knife.
I am iron.
Oh my gosh. If you want more access to resources, books, I'm closing us out here. Resources, books, anything else that you need, you can get it at markgreaves.com. But guys, thank you very much. And we're over and out.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching the First in Focus show. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and then share with a friend.